Incredible.
Hey, look, I got to ask what kept you engaged this week, OSPers. Was it the actual game? Maybe it was the officiating and their poor judgment from time to time, which wasn't bad, to tell you the truth. Perhaps it was the $1 million commercials, $7 million for 30 seconds. Or was it Usher and his halftime performance? In my house, we had some friends over. I pulled out the football drinking game, and away we went. Although it didn't go quite as well, I did have quite a bit of good wine. Noobs, I got some more cherry wine coming to you, baby. We got to keep it real tonight, though. We look at all I mentioned. We look at all we mentioned in significant plays that impacted the outcome of this game. Of course, we're going to discuss menus that you had for that game. And how could I forget? Our former professional football player is our guest, popping on to give us his take. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Man, can't beat it, can't beat it.
Yeah, Excelente.
Yeah, going from left to right for me is Rasheen the Dream. Next to him is Noobs. Underneath Noobs is Chops, which is interesting to say. And T Sizzle to the right. So
I ain't underneath no one.
Welcome, fellas. Welcome,
Pause.
Hey, let's do a little spontaneous reaction to kick things off. I know Chops threw this out to us. Good hits there, Chops. Party on the golf course. Say what? Chops, break that down for us.
Here's my thing. We know the old saying, golf has always stood for gentlemen only, ladies forbidden. They believe they're just whatever, better than. I loved it. I loved it. I have a problem. It bothers me when a guy stands over a golf ball wearing cleats, the ball's not moving, and he needs complete silence. Meanwhile, you got a guy throwing a 100-mile heater, 30, 40,000 people screaming. So I'm glad they're having fun. I love it. I love it. No, I hit a golf ball, but I believe I hit a golf ball better than I hit a fastball from a major leaguer. But I loved it. I did. I loved it.
Hey,
what did I miss?
Did you? First of all, it was
you
rain.
Didn't see it. Hold on, Sheen. You didn't see it at Waste Management?
Yeah, the Waste Management Golf Classic.
I didn't see it.
It was like a frat party.
It was muddy like crazy.
Yeah. I didn't see it this year, but I have seen it. Yes.
It was like me trying to walk out of a UMD tailgater. Let's just put it like that. Those guys were slip sliding away. Muddy. They were muddy, dirty.
Noobs, what do you think about that little thing right there that Sis talked about?
So I feel like golf is at a different level. I feel like if you're going to a major golf tournament, there needs to be some decorum. You're taking your kids there. You're taking the family. Like it's people that spend a lot of money. Walk around, give them their quiet time. If you want to do that, maybe we'll make a separate tour.
At one point, they had the beer snake going. I was like, "Whoa, this is next level."
For a while there, they didn't want it to get that bad. But Waste Management, their invitational, they were enjoying, they were welcoming the mayhem. Now it went a little far, but here's my thing, because Coach Noobs, you brought up a good point. Like you got your family there and kids there. Let's keep it a buck. Kids have more basketball and football players on their walls and posters growing up than they got golfers. So if they can act this way at football game and baseball games, you know what I mean? I just have always thought that golfers think of themselves so highly. You're a man of flesh and blood, just like everybody else. What you choose to do, I mean, so I liked it. Now I wouldn't have done it only because that's just not the way I carry myself. Grown man jumping around in mud, and like you said, they probably got kids now. They got to go home. Yeah, that was my dad. I mean, but I liked it. But then again, I liked it because I wasn't there, and I'm not an avid golfer.
I don't know. I'm a horrible golfer, so you could be throwing shit at me, and I'm still going to hit the ball as well as if it's completely quiet there. There's no doubt about it. My shit's taken off the tee and going about 4 miles to the right. That's all there is to it. I swing as hard as I can, hoping and praying that I'm going down the fairway. You know, that's the bottom line with me.
Like Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, shit. Imagine having that much fun. Noobs is definitely against that shit, though. He's like, nah.
I know. Now that you mention that, I wish somebody would have been running around the field. This is for you, Chubbs. This is for you. Because he just died. And you mentioned Happy Gilmore. He just died.
Oh,
Man, I know. There should have been a little bit decorum, but
you got to look up the videos if you haven't seen it. I saw one guy. He was rolling down the hill, and he's mud, and people, ignorant, not helping the poor guy. They just had their phones out. He just needed a friend.
They had to cut off alcohol sales on Saturday. They had to cut off alcohol sales on Saturday. Yeah. At some point, just as a grown adult, I'm not even saying, man, as an adult, you realize, I need to go sit down and whatever. But these guys were ridiculous. I mean, it was like a frat party. It really was.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for having fun, but I just feel like certain, like you have to have decorum at certain events. Like that's a golf is a little different to me. Tennis, you go to a tennis tournament. Like those are different sports. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a certain standard that's supposed to be kept. You don't scream out curse words and stuff like that. Like just be respectable. That's all I say.
And you know why I think that is, Noobs? Because golf and tennis, years and years ago in their origin, started by elitists, started by the richer people, and they wanted to conduct themselves in a certain way. And
the only way they couldn't play baseball or any other sport that way is if it happened in Philadelphia. Where did this take place?
Arizona.
Oh, well.
Arizona. Now, they wouldn't do that at the Masters. They wouldn't do that at any of the other majors. You know what I mean? But they showed up and showed out.
It was the waste management. What the hell do you want? Waste management.
It was a shit show.
Top shit. That's top level. Let's get wasted and watch some golf. Hey, I'll tell you what, real quick. One time my father-in-law gave my wife and I tickets he won to go to a golf tournament up in New York. It was called the Dick's Pro-Am. And with this tournament came all the food you could eat, all the booze you could drink. And my wife and I never saw, we didn't see much of it all. It was just, we were just drinking for 3 hours, double fisted. I mean, I could get into detail here, but she might be listening. She'd get upset, but it was crazy. You don't go to those things, a big tent. I'm going up, I'm asking for 2 drinks. She's right behind me. She's getting 2 drinks. I'm drinking gin and tonic. It's all top shelf. It's just downhill from there.
Have you guys been to the Preakness?
No.
Back in the day?
No.
Now, see, that's an event. Preakness is similar, man. Back in the day, you would go to the infield.
Yeah.
Dude, I was 16 years old, and we carried in a cooler of beer, and they were checking it, and I was like, oh, my God, we're done. And the guy goes, good, no bottles, go ahead. I was like, whoa.
Did you drink? You were underage, 5 years. Were you drinking
just carried it.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, little Hutch?
Oh.
What up?
What up?
Hey, let's move on to this one. Chops, this was another good one you talked about. I saw this hit 2-3 times. I asked Noobs if he saw this hit. Morgan Reily took out, who was it? I'm drawing
Ridley Greg or Ridley Greg. I'm not sure you pronounce his name. Ridley, yeah.
He took him out after he scored a goal. He's halfway up the boards going to the bench to get the dap ups. He just came and plowed his ass. I remember when Dale Hunter did that back in the day. He got just a handful of games. This dude, man, I don't know what they're gonna. At the end of the day, it
wasn't. He just scored a goal. It was an empty net. 5 seconds left, and he slap shot to say, "We just kicked your ass."
Yes.
Okay, you might have, and you probably did the whole game. You don't go. He just cross-checked him in the back of the neck, though. He shouldn't have done that. I don't care how you score on an empty net or slap shot. Just between the whatever, he scored. He showed that they're the better.
He went neck down. He could have pummeled him neck down, but he went to the head. I think that's going to be.
But it was after the goal, and not even
game was over.
Yeah.
He was over. He was over on the side, going to give his boys high five like they do, and he just crushed him. Then it's not like he was shooting, he hit him, and then he scored. It was seconds after.
Hey, look, at the end of the day in hockey, if you don't want someone to score, defend it. It's just like football. If you don't want me to score, defend it. Okay. Don't leave your net open with 5 seconds to go and think I'm not going to shoot the damn thing. It might be my hat trick goal. It might be, we might have a bitter rivalry. You know what? Step up your game if you don't want me to score that. And by the way, if you want to challenge me, because next time we're playing, somebody's taking you the fuck out.
I honestly, I don't understand that. There's certain sports that say they have these unwritten rules.
Right.
You hit it, you take a picture, you take them yard, you can't show them up. Bro, I just sent your shit on a rocket. I do what I want. If you don't like it, sit me down. I've always thought that way. I have always thought that way about sports.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But
Want to walk on the bases after homer? You want to? Yeah.
Moonwalk if you want to.
I'm the angry one, though, right?
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm angry.
Now, can you go to the Star and dance in Dallas?
You don't do any of that. You don't steal a base when you're up 10-0.
No.
You don't walk
This ain't
around the
Little League.
Hold up.
Man, come on.
I
told me before,
practiced.
stop 'em.
I practiced first day of camp just like you did first day of camp. This is my time to shine. That base may and look here at the end of the year, that stolen base may help me get this to get a bonus. Stats help because if I don't have stats, they'll damn sure cut me. Look, they paid you to stop me. They paid me to steal bases and hit jacks.
All right.
And chicks dig the long ball.
I'm with you there. You don't have to convince me, Chops. I'm down with it all. Hey, while we're waiting for our guest to join us, says check your phone. Well, don't forget when you shared that doc, you took the link off.
I didn't take the link off.
You better put the link back on,
bro. Listen.
Hey, oh, there's Irv. There's our guy. Hey, everybody. Sis, you want to introduce your guest since you got him? Go ahead. Before I let him on.
Oh.
Okay. Before you let him on, our special guest today is a local legend where he made his name known as a tailback for the Poolesville Indians, now the Falcons. He continued playing for the University of Maryland as a defensive back, then blessed to be part of the NFL, the World League of American Football, and the Canadian Football League. Today, he keeps us all safe as he serves as a lieutenant for the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Department. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome our special guest, Irv Smith. How you doing, Irv?
Good evening, fellas. Good evening. Thanks for having me. I can't.
Hey, I hear they got a big statue you up somewhere over in Europe for playing the World League, baby.
I need to go over there and check it out. Then I would love to.
Hey, before we go any further into this, my name's Mark Maradei. I'm the barber because it's the Barbershop crew. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hey, it's kind of like Michael Jackson and the rest of the Jacksons, like that.
Okay.
Here's a better one. David Ruffin, These Are the Temptations.
Okay. Nights like this, huh? Nights like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Rasheen.
Well, WSB, I'm Mike Mills. Go ahead,
Mike. Go.
They call me my name's Michael Mills. They call me Big Chops. I'm like the bay leaf. You know the bay leaf in soup. He don't do much, shows up late, but just makes everything better. That's like me.
All right.
and I'm Terry T. Sizzle.
Nice to meet you guys.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Irv, did you watch the Super Bowl? Oh, Noobs, you not?
Coach Noob, I coached at Northwest. Played at Gaithersburg back in the day. I think we met you maybe when Primerica days with Scott Hossman. I
think I met you. Last time I saw you was at Quincy's during football season back when you and your crew were in there.
Oh, yep, shit.
Exactly. Good memories.
Definitely.
Uh-oh.
Hey, that's awesome. You knew that one. Did you watch the Super Bowl? What'd you think?
It's one of my top 5 best Super Bowls I've ever watched.
Wow.
It's in my top 5.
Why is that?
I just like the fact that the halftime adjustments that Kansas City seems to make in big games, the meaningful games, and teams make adjustments, but like I just said, you can make an adjustment, but it's the meaningful adjustment, and to see how composed that quarterback can be. I mean, it just amazes me for Kansas City. He just holds his composure. They don't panic. They stay composed, and they make adjustments, and like they said, Mahomes is like a computer. He's just taking in data, he's storing it, and in the second half, he exploits it if he has the opportunity. I mean, you didn't see him running that much, in the first half, but I'm sure he was, whenever he dropped back, and you could tell he was a little uncomfortable. His feet looked a little uneasy to me. I'm a defensive back, so it's just my way of looking at it, but he looked a little uneasy, looked a little rushed, but I guarantee you he was like, okay, if I had to run earlier in this progression, this is the lane I'm going to take. San Fran looked like they were being very, very disciplined in their rush lane assignments. Both edge rushers stayed out where he couldn't bounce it. And the interior, the big guys up front stayed neutral. They stayed true to their form. So I guarantee you he was analyzing all that stuff, taking it in, and in the second half, he made some meaningful adjustments.
Irv, who would you compare him to? You and I are the same age, all right?
Right.
But you're about 58, right?
Right. I'm 56. I'm 56.
56.
57 in March.
So who would you compare him to during our lifetime? Because these dudes are all young bucks, by the way.
I understand. In our era, I really don't think anybody was like him. I mean, you could look at Joe Theismann possibly. I mean, Joe would run it when he needed to, and Joe was a pretty good athlete. But in our era, it was all pocket quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It was all, Warren Moon. Warren Moon might have got outside every now and again, but he was a premier thrower. He was a premier passer. But in our generations, I'm just racking my brain with all the quarterbacks. No one in the NFC East, definitely that. And
Fran Tarkenton. What do you think about Fran Tarkenton?
Fran was a little bit before me, but I still vaguely remember him. You know what I mean? When he was with Minnesota. Yeah, I guess you could call maybe Steve Young. Steve would tuck it and run it every now and again. He was a great athlete. So the game has changed so much. I look at it as a defensive back. I don't think I would have made it at corner. I mean, the game has changed. I was a physical corner, and you can't lay your hands. I mean, my heroes were Steve Atwater, Lester Hayes, Ron Woodson. I mean, all these guys that laid the boom.
So let me ask you a question, Mr. Smith. Does that take away from when they say like Tom Brady and these guys are the best quarterbacks ever because the receivers are just running free?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The game has changed in favor. The NFL wants to see points on the board. We all can agree with that, I think. I mean, the way the rules are amended now, and each receiver has a specific referee looking at them individually for each play. And like I said, as a DB, I mean, I didn't get many PIs, but I was physical. I mean, I was physical when I got a chance to get my hands on you, especially on the line of scrimmage, bump and run. I mean, if it went past 5 yards, it went past 5 yards, and, my motto, and I guess that's why I might have a little bit CTE right now, but if I killed the head, the body would follow.
There you go.
So I led with my Rydell, even if they make Rydell. I don't even know if they make Rydell. I mean, I might be aging myself, but I'm just saying that was my motto. I mean,
yeah.
So,
let me ask you this, Mr. Smith. Do you appreciate the game as much as you used to? Seeing, I hate to say it this way, they've taken defense out of it.
Well, I'm gonna stop you real quick. It's not Mr. Smith. It's Irv, Irvin, Smitty, whatever you guys want to call me. All right, we're gonna go. But yeah, I think I get pissed off. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the game from a different angle, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not PI. It's just. But again, this is what and again, I'm old school. We all can agree probably that offense sells tickets, defense wins championships.
There it is.
So with the NFL, I mean, look at the TV ratings that this game got this past weekend. So you take out Taylor Swift, I think it still would have had a great following. People wanted to see two good teams, and we can talk all we want about Houston, the up and coming teams, but we are, I think, a society of comfort. We're comfortable seeing San Francisco. We're comfortable seeing Kansas City now in the lineup on TV. Two new teams. If Houston had made it, or even I don't think that many people would have watched Detroit play. Kansas City. I mean, Detroit, they haven't been there in 30 plus years, a long time, but I'm sure viewership was at its ultimate, this year with these two teams.
123 million people or something like that?
Yeah.
Like that was freaking insane.
They said it was almost the same amount of people that watched the moon landing on the moon back in 1960 something. Like it was over
69.
Yeah.
Well, Irv, take us back a little. What was your journey like from high school to college to the NFL? Talk about teammates, coaches, what do you got? Going to Poolesville, the smallest school in Montgomery County, I was being challenged. I mean,
I had Bullis offer me a full ride to come down there in the 80s, and I definitely turned them down because back in the 80s, they didn't have any girls at the school. So I wasn't going to give up the few good-looking girls we had up there in Poolesville to go to an all-boys school wearing a suit jacket. But
Yeah.
you know, it was a great career at Poolesville. I mean, from my 9th grade year to my senior year, I only lost 3 high school games, and one of them was a state championship.
Wow.
Then from there, I chose, you know, every school in the ACC recruited me. I mean, I did my mission. You know, I sacrificed a lot, you know, a whole new group of friends and making the right decisions. Academically, I flunked off the basketball team my freshman year. My mom took my TV, unplugged my phone out of my room because we didn't have cell phones. And for 9.5 weeks, I didn't have any contact with society. So, you know, that's how we were raised back then. So it wasn't no ifs, ands, buts about it. You know, I came home every day on the school bus, but it all paid off where, you know, I turned down Alabama. I turned down UCLA. Now, Alabama wasn't the Alabama of today, but they had a local running back named Craig Turner out of Damascus that, a little history note, he was the last running back to score a touchdown in Bear Bryant's career. He was a fullback.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a fullback at Alabama. He played tailback at Damascus High School. But
Ambush, right?
Yeah, it's his cousin. Yeah.
Ambush connection there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And you know, I chose Maryland. And another trivia question, which you guys probably already know, Maryland was preseason ranked #1 in the nation back in 1985.
Wow.
They were the preseason #1 team in the nation. They had won 3 straight ACC championships, 3 straight bowl appearances with, I think, 3 wins. So, you know, they were up and coming. They were not up and they were there. You know what I mean? As far as when the ACC, you know, their biggest rivals were Carolina, which was tailback U at the time. And that's where I really wanted to go. But I had a bad experience at their summer camp and decided to take them off my top 5 list. So it came down between Maryland, Penn State, and Virginia Tech. They were my last 3 standing, and I ended up going to Maryland at the time.
What was your experience like there, though?
Hindsight being 2020, if I had known Maryland was not going to allow me to play running back, I probably would have went to Penn State. And my experience was great. I love my teammates. I love Coach Ross. He was part of the reason why I went to Maryland. Coach Ross came to my house, and he had my mom in the palm of his hand from the second he walked in my house. And when we shut the door after he left, my mom looked at me and was like, yeah, you're going to Maryland. And I'm like, Mom, this is my decision. You know what I mean? But, you know, he said all the things a mom wants to hear. And I think to put the nail in my coffin was, he was like, Mrs. Smith, we have already practiced landing a helicopter in Byrd Stadium to, you know, if Irv was to sustain a neck injury, we could have him at Johns Hopkins Hospital in about 15 minutes, ma'am. And, you know, just saying everything a mom wants to hear about her son leaving home. And I'm like, Mom, that don't make no sense, man. But you know, you know, hindsight being 2020, I wish, you know, if I were going to went to a university and got moved to defensive back, because I didn't play a snap of defense at Poolesville, not one snap.
Wow.
But Maryland at that time had 3 DBs flunk off the team that summer, my freshman summer. So, you know, Bobby Ross calls me in the office and, you know, they pump you up to, I guess, bring you down a little. He was like, you know, Irv, I got a couple questions. He said, didn't you win the state championship in 100 and 200 this year? I said, yes, sir. He said, didn't you play on the basketball team that went to the playoffs and blah, blah, blah? I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, well, hell, son, I think you're probably the best athlete we got coming in this freshman class, you know, just pumping me up. And then he goes, well, we had 3 DBs flunk off the team, and I think you could make that adjustment to defensive back. And wow. I looked at him with a straight face, and, you know, being 18 and half cocky, I was like, well, Coach, how in the hell am I supposed to win the Heisman at defensive back? You know? and he chuckled a little bit. And I said, Coach, I just went to the Big 33 game and on the losing team won MVP, co-MVP. I said, so, you know, we lost that game. It was Maryland's first year playing in the Big 33, and we ended up losing 15-13. But that was a great experience also. But so I made the transition, you know what I mean? But making that transition, Maryland was the only school in the entire country that did not backpedal. We did not backpedal as DBs. We shuffled. So to make it to the next level, we weren't doing any of the skills or techniques that was needed to make it to the next level.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that out, Irv. So
Yeah.
you was
Yeah.
like, so you like sideways shuffling?
Yes, more or less. My navel had to be pointed at the quarterback, so it was like kind of like my feet were at a 90-degree angle, if you could imagine, with
Right.
your belly button pointed on the quarterback,
Okay.
and your feet are at a 90-degree. You could run the out route all the way downfield on the corners, all the way down the field, because I would have to open up my hips
Right.
entirely to get to the out. And that principle, we had Coach Greg Williams. I don't know where in the hell he found that principle at. He played at NC State, and he was a dinosaur. The techniques and philosophies that they had. Now, up until my sophomore year, when Coach Ross left, we were still playing the wide tackle 6 defense, where we had 3 DBs on the field. So if a team came out with an extra receiver, our outside linebacker bumped out on him. So, hindsight being 2020,
oh man.
Uh-oh.
We'll get him back.
So that's like a 4-4, basically, noobs?
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
It's old school. My cousin played in there in '83. He played at Maryland. He played in that.
So,
I mean, that could work if you get some 2 outside athletes, right? Outside linebacker athletes.
Yeah, but they had like DN types that were kind of like stand up
TJ Watt
DNs.
guys.
Yeah, like TJ Watt guys. Yeah.
Wow.
But it does make you think, fellas, like you mentioned, they couldn't backpedal. Like, what coach would think that would work? I mean, they were winning, but what coach? You know what I'm saying? I don't understand how
we're not going to play to your strengths. You're going to play for us the way. Yeah, that's just kind of.
I mean,
it's very narrow-minded, but
I had a coach the one year up when I was a receiver, and they had us in the 3-point stands out as a receiver.
I remember those days.
I said, "What the heck? I can't. What is this? Just straight false steps."
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Those days. Hey, no problem, Irv. Go ahead, Noob. Hit him with your question.
Can you share any behind-the-scenes stories or insights about the intensity of NFL training camps and practices?
You got us, Irv. We see you.
He said he can't hear anything.
No.
Oh, shoot.
You see what I can do for you?
That was good
See,
stuff.
that's what I like hearing. I like hearing them stories.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yep.
Can you hear us now, Irv?
Uh-oh.
He getting mad now. He got that Parkland
I wish
hoodie
I
on.
was IT or AV. I just can't hear you guys.
We hear you now.
We can hear
you.
Nope.
Oh man.
Can you hear us now?
Now I got you.
Oh, good. Good.
All right.
I am so sorry. I don't know what happened, but I lost everything for a second. But
No problem.
Awesome. That was great insight on the wide tackle 6. Love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, NC State broke us out of that. And part of the reason when Coach Ross left and they hired Joe Krivak, which I will go on the record and say was the biggest mistake in Maryland football history. We should have went outside and brought in a whole new group of coaches, but that's another day for another story. But I think NC State probably ran my tongue out of my mouth when they came out and they had a group of receivers that were like track stars. And yeah, it wasn't pretty. So when Bobby Ross left, they hired Joe Krivak and he agreed to take us to a conventional defense with 4 defensive backs. So yeah. And then from there, signed with the New York Jets. My rookie year, I was put on the practice roster. Joe Walton was the coach, so I'm definitely aging myself.
From Pittsburgh.
I remember the first time I covered Al Toon, and I didn't know how big of a man he was until I got up there. I mean, that year, Blair Thomas was their first round draft choice.
Penn State, yeah.
Wow.
But they also had a supplemental first round pick, and you remember a receiver. I want to say his last name was Moore, maybe.
Rob Moore?
Yeah, Rob Moore.
I remember Rob Moore.
Syracuse.
Yep. And they were the 2 number 1 draft choices. And I remember, looking at Blair Thomas, and I wasn't impressed at all. He didn't last long at all. But
he went to Penn State.
Yep.
He's a Penn State running back.
Yep.
He never would have played if you would have been there. Penn State.
Yeah.
Hey, I wasn't going to say that, but that's what I was thinking when I was looking at it. I mean,
look, Irv, he might have been that DB at Maryland.
Yeah.
Hey, but quick question for you, Irv. Talking about the NFL, do you have any behind-the-scenes stories or insights about training camp in the NFL or the intensity of training camp?
Oh man, I mean, well, you got to understand. My first year up there, I basically dropped out of college just to go learn how to backpedal. They signed me as a free agent specifically on my speed and my athleticism. I didn't go to the combine, but I had a great workout when the Jets came to Maryland for a workout. So the funniest story, I think one of the most famous stories I have is I went back to New York on my second year with the Jets, and that was the year that Bruce Coslett was the head coach. They hired Bruce. They fired Joe Walton, hired Bruce Coslett, and you'll never guess who the defensive coordinator was. Pete Carroll.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Pete Carroll and oh my God, I just had a blank. I had his name on the tip of my tongue. It was Ed Donatel was the DB coach. Oh, Monty Kiffin.
Oh
Monty
my God.
Wow.
Was
Some
the
names here, man.
linebackers coach, right? So we had went over, we were in the dog days or 2 days, and we had just had a meeting like in between practices or something. It went over coverage. And I get into practice and I fucking blow the coverage. I mean, I just butchered it. Like if I was never there in the meeting, right? So Pete Carroll calls me. This is Smith, get over here. And him and Monty Kiffin are standing there, right? So he was like, I need you to close your eyes. And I'm like, close my eyes? He says, yeah, close your eyes. And he says, now stick your hand out, stick your finger out, point in any direction you want. So I stick it straight out in front of me. He goes, now turn. Now just start going around in a circle. And I'll tell you when to stop. By this time, everybody's watching me, right? So I'm twirling. He's like, all right, stop when you want. So I stop. And him and Monty Kiffin get behind me. And he said, keep your finger out. They were like, yeah, it looks like LaGuardia. Like, he's like, yeah, the next time you do something stupid like that, we're going to send your ass straight to LaGuardia Airport, all right? Because that's where you're pointed at. That's the direction you're pointed, right? So I was like, all right, no problem, right? But, and then when I was in Minnesota at training camp, and I had another great defensive coordinator, Tony Dungy. It was It was Dennis Green's first year. Wow. At Maryland. I mean, at Minnesota, when he signed me, I had played 2 years in the World League. And after the second year, Minnesota called. I had already agreed to go to Philly with Buddy Ryan. But again, back in the early 90s, we didn't have internet and contracts could be emailed. So I'm sitting by the mailbox waiting for a FedEx delivery for the contract to sign. And then while I'm waiting in that little window of 2 days, Minnesota called, and I will tell this, it's a funny story. While I was at Maryland, I dated Dennis Green's daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, I dated his daughter while he was a head coach at Stanford. And I met him, one day. She's like, hey, my dad's coming in town. I really want you to meet him. I'm like, oh, God, I really don't want to meet your dad, but okay. So I met him, went out to dinner, had a good time. So I come home from the second year of the World League, and the first year we won the World Bowl. The second year we were in the toilet bowl. We lost like Stan Gelbaugh, our quarterback. We lost a lot of key players off that team to the NFL, so we weren't that good. But so Minnesota calls, and he's like, "Hey, Irv, I'm trying to bring you in. What do you think?" I was like, "Well, Coach, I already committed to Minnesota." He goes, not Minnesota. I said Philly. He goes, Philly. He goes, I tell you what, how much they're offering you up front, I'll double it. I'll double your signing bonus. And like a good, honest kid from Poolesville, Maryland. Yeah. I'm like, 7,500, coach. He's all right, I'll give you 15 grand. I'm like, shit, damn, it was that easy. Right. So and I hope this is a R-rated podcast, but
You're good.
After I hung up the phone with him, I called up all my buddies from Maryland, and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going out to Minnesota. Dennis Green's out there, and I'm like, didn't I tell you my what would pay off someday? I thought when you give good loving, it pays off in the long run. So his ass, he still cut me at the end of the day, but it was a great experience out there with Ed Reed, Chris Carter, all those big time guys out there, man. It was a great experience competing against them every day in practice. I never realized how big Jake Reed was or Chris Carter. I mean, those guys, and Chris Carter's hands, I've never seen a man's hands that big in my life.
Wow.
The ball
Who was the
looked
quarterback
like a
then?
K2 in his hand. I mean, it was, yeah.
Who was
it
the
was
quarterback,
a great experience.
Salisbury?
I want to say Gannon.
Rich Gannon.
I want to say because Jack Del Rio was still on the team. I'm trying to think who the quarterback was. It Gannon?
That's pretty cool.
I can't remember exactly who the quarterback, because I thought Jack Del Rio was one of the baddest guys I had ever with. Like, playing in a Tony Dungy defense, he just wanted you to fly around. That coach, I have never played so hard in a training camp than for Tony Dungy, and he never raised his voice. Never raised his voice one time to get us motivated. You know what I mean? You just went out there, you knew your expectations, and you just went and laid it on the line. And I mean, that year, Minnesota didn't lose a preseason game. They went undefeated in preseason. As a matter of fact, didn't have a touchdown scored on us until the last preseason game, I believe.
Wow.
So from Minnesota, the phone rang from the Canadian Football League. And I had bounced into Canada twice with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, both for like a week or two. I really didn't like it in Saskatchewan. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. And Hamilton, it was cool, but it was really nothing up there for me either. And they weren't really playing too much money when you're on the practice roster. So I was there for like a week stint in each city. But again, I never burned any bridges, always respectful. So the whole coaching staff from the Saskatchewan Rough Riders got hired to be the staff for the Baltimore Stallions of the CFL. When the CFL expanded into the U.S., they put a franchise in Baltimore. So the defensive backs coach, Coach Price, Bob Price, he remembered me and he called me up. He's like, "Aren't you in Maryland? You want to come try out for the team? We're in your hometown now. You can't be a little punk and want to go home now because you're a little homesick and whatnot." He was real cool, right? And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come up." And the rest was history. I mean, for whatever reason, they thought I was slow, and they put me at free safety so for the first like week and a half of 2 days, I was the starting free safety. And in the CFL, and I'm sure you guys are educated enough, that field is wide.
Yeah.
It's wide and long. And I mean, and we played nothing but man-to-man coverage for the Baltimore Stallions. We were 98% in your face bump and run man. They did a stat. And I was in the middle field doing nothing. I'm like, so finally I got up enough courage and I was like, "Coach, I appreciate the opportunity, but can I move out there on the corner?" And the coach looks at you, he's like, "What in the hell are you talking about, slap dick? You probably run a 4 forever 40. We're just trying to put you out there because you like to hit. You're physical." I'm like, "Coach, who told you I'm slow?" And he goes, "I'm just saying." So he goes, "All right, today in 101s, you can move up. You can pick either side you want to go to." I said, "All right." So I went straight to the left side corner, and the rest was history. The rest was they never moved me back to free.
So I got 2 questions. What was your 40 time? And I didn't know safety was the slow DB. I played safety.
Yeah, I guess they were trying to protect me. I don't know. But my fastest 40, which I ran on my pro day at Maryland, was 4.37.
Ooh, that's picking them up, putting them down.
It's moving.
Yeah. So I wasn't slow. I mean, in my opinion, I wasn't slow. I mean, when I worked out for the Redskins, I ran 4-4-6, 4-4, 4-4-6, 4-4-8, and a 4-5-1. On my 3-4. So yeah.
Man.
So
That's going.
yeah.
Man.
So that's how I got into Canadian. And after the second year, we won the Grey Cup, and Baltimore finally, the NFL really took notice. After the first year, we won. When we went to the Grey Cup, it was the perfect storm for the Canadian Football League in Baltimore, because the first year of the team was the year baseball went on strike.
Oh.
So the Baltimore fan base had nothing to do all summer. And as you know, the CFL starts in July. So the owner, Jim Spiros of the Canadian football of the Baltimore team, he made the most expensive ticket $35. So we were putting 30 to 35,000 people consistently in the stadium, and they loved it. It was something new. We punt on third down, the ball's always in the air, the field's wider and faster. So you play with 12 men, you got 6 people that can be in motion at the same time. So it was like a novelty that took hold, and we were good. We were good, and went to the Grey Cup twice and won it the second time. And the NFL took note of that, and literally we won the Grey Cup on a Sunday. Monday night, the NFL announced the Baltimore Stallions were coming the Baltimore Ravens were coming to town.
Oh shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Dagger.
it was crazy. So the Canadian Football League picked up our franchise. They dissolved all the rest of the U.S. franchises and took our franchise and moved us to Montreal, because the Alouettes, they used to have a team up there, the Alouettes, but I think they went under. I don't know exactly what year they went under, but they went under. So they were like, there's a fan base already in Montreal. There's a stadium. Big O was already there. So they just plopped us there, and I ended up playing another 7 years up there.
Oh, wow.
Did you like that? Do you like being in Canada?
I loved it. I highly recommend to you good gentlemen, if you guys want to go for a great vacation that's not too far. I don't know where you guys are located at, but from Baltimore, it's an hour and 15-minute flight to Montreal. And if you want a European flavor for not the European price, go to Montreal. In downtown Montreal, you'll think you're walking around in France, because everybody's going to be speaking French, and it's just a great, safe place to go.
Man.
Unless you're a snowboarder or skier, I'd highly recommend going in the summertime.
Let me ask you this: how do you, in your opinion, how do you think the NFL? Well, let's go to the NFL has evolved since your playing days. And on a piggyback of that, which I think you might have already answered, what changes do you find most significant?
The way the game has evolved since my time, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that the athletes are bigger, faster, and way stronger now. You look at some of these receivers, and you look at, I remember my first day at Maryland doing a pursuit drill, and that's where you got a guy running down the sideline, and the defense just takes the proper angle. And I remember at Maryland watching some D linemen basically keeping up with me, and I was like, whoa. But now you look at these D linemen, that's who I'm most impressed with. These D linemen are just studs. They're athletes. They got better feet than me. Or I ever had. And the way it's evolved, that the game had to change. The NFL had to make a rule, because and I'm only speaking from the defensive side of the ball, if they hadn't have started some of these, penalties for DBs and linebackers, there wouldn't be any points on the board, because the athletes are so much better now. And on both sides of the ball. But defensively, speaking from the defensive side, these D linemen and these linebackers that you can see 6'2", 240 or 6'3", 240 running a 4.4 that can run with a receiver down the field. So imagine if the rules hadn't changed. You get a linebacker and he gets his hands on somebody, it's a wrap. They aren't ever going to get off the field. And now another thing that a lot of people don't like to talk about is the injuries, especially the head injuries and stuff like that. Now that CTE is known and documented, they have to do something to protect individuals. That's why, they have that, I can't remember what the rule is called, where you just can't blow a receiver up when he goes up in the air and the ball is 5 yards over his head, You got to protect them. And I'm all for protecting the quarterback. I'm all for it. I know it sucks, but I know they put their jock strap on like I do. But they're pussies. They don't want to get hit. I mean,
no, they don't.
Except my boy from Buffalo. Now he'll tuck it on your ass.
Irv, you didn't diss both of my positions, quarterback and safety. God dang, Irv.
Let me ask you this real quick, Irv.
It's all in respect, and you say how the game is.
He's getting to know you quite well then.
But the game, I mean, and it's I guess it's the way life is now. Life, we got cell phones now. When I grew up, we had house phones and pagers. You know what I mean? So everything's changing. I guess it's for the better. I guess the NFL is smiling, today and yesterday, and especially Sunday. I mean, their viewership is up, revenue is up. Everything is going good for them. I mean, they got rid of the black eye. They got some black coaches now, in head coaching roles. So
I'll admit I am like the grumpy old man of the group, because on that aspect, you're right. Viewership is up. But to me, a lot of guys like me, the fans,
right?
They're not catering to us. They're catering like cameras on Taylor Swift. We don't care. She can't run around. But let me ask you this real quick. As we were talking about the changes, whatever have you, how do you feel now, since you played defense, as these offenses calling timeouts or whatever because they don't want to give the ball back to the other team? Guys used to take pride in playing defense. Right. We will stop them from scoring. Now it's like we don't want to give him the ball because he's going to score. We can't give that offense the ball. To me, that's a slap in the face to your defense. You're paying them the same way the other team is paying their offense.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? Like, or when you watch it, you see him doing that?
Unfortunately, as a player, we don't make that choice. I think it's CYA, cover your ass. So these coaches have that mindset that, hey, I'm not going to lose my job by making a bad call. Let me call a timeout and figure out, because I mean, if the shoe were to fall, what do you think about teams letting teams score to get their offense back the ball? You know what I mean? That strategy, like just let them score, so we'll at least have 1:30 left on the clock. I've run that strategy past a couple people, especially if you got a quarterback like Mahomes, and let's say it was a totally different dynamic, for the Super Bowl, and San Fran was just trying to milk the clock to give Mahomes less time to have the opportunity to score. So I don't like I'm with you. I'm a dinosaur like you. I mean, we probably would have a blast watching a game together. And, I'm just like this. I know I'm a dinosaur, and people make fun of me when I say, yeah, that wouldn't have happened during my time. You know what I mean? I would have blown his ass up, period.
We say that in the classroom every day. Three of us are teachers here in Montgomery County, but no.
Right, right.
We appreciate your time. We have another question for you. Go ahead, Mark. You want to?
Yeah. So, Irv, the transition from being a pro athlete to, normal life after sports.
Right.
Has it been challenging for you? How'd you navigate through that? That's a big change.
It's that is a great question for Irvin C. Smith Jr. And I'm gonna tell you why. I graduated Maryland with a degree in criminal justice. I always wanted to be a federale. I wanted to be ATF, FBI, Secret Service. I always wanted to be a federale in law enforcement. Well, unbeknownst to me, the feds have a rule that you can't be past your 36 and a half birthday in order to be hired by the federal government. So when I retired from the CFL, I was 35. And by the time I got through all the application period and stuff, I was past my 36 and a half birthday.
Yeah.
So I was all set to become a Montgomery County cop, and I was substitute school teaching. And as teachers on this call, you know what I'm going to talk about. I was a long-term sub at Riker for 7 years.
Wow.
Whoa. So I would come home during my off season. I would come home during my off season and substitute school teach at Reich. I love working with those knuckleheads over there. I mean, they weren't any different than I was, more say than they just, and I didn't go in there every day as I was a role model, but I was, you know what I mean? They knew my expectations in my classroom and they abided by it, and if need be, they would get kicked out, So, it was a great experience there, but I ended up becoming a firefighter, and it was the absolute 100% best transition I ever could have made into the real world. And I say that because my firehouse, I work in Rockville, we have 13 people on shift. That's nothing but a locker room. When I show up in the mornings, it's like, somebody's going to be the bitch boy on the shift that day. We're going to figure out it's a pecking order. Somebody's going to get picked on the rest of the shift. You know what I mean? So it's just like a locker room, but when those tones go off, I still get that adrenaline rush as if I were running a play. When I'm going down the road and I'm making the siren or the horn go off, making cars move, you get that adrenaline rush. I'm reading notes on the computer, updates on the call that we're going on, you know what I mean? And now I'm the quarterback. Not that I ever wanted to be a quarterback, but as the lieutenant, I'm the quarterback because I'm going to be in charge when I get on scene. I'm the one that has to tell the 3 or 4 people sitting behind me what to do. And if I'm first arriving on a significant incident like a fire, whoever the first arriving officer is command. So now I'm the quarterback. So I'm telling all the rest of the apparatus and firefighters what to do. And, I could be going down the road and I'm reading on my computer, this, that, and the other, but I get on scene, I might have to call an audible because things have changed since the initial dispatch. So, I cherish it. I love my transition into real world, real job, making a difference, especially in the communities that I grew up in. And it's like a fairy tale, honestly. I mean, I feel like I've had a blessed life, especially coming from Poolsville, living out my dreams. And, I got a couple rings in safe. I should have, if it weren't for Doug Flutie, I probably have about 3 more rings in the safe. But I'm not, that's another story. That's another time for another story. But yeah, he cost me about 3 Grey Cups. But, I can't complain one bit about that transition. Things happen for a reason. I'm not a cop, thank God. I'm a firefighter.
Hey, you did your time. You worked at Rika. That was enough. But it's really neat to see how the sports, we obviously love sports. That's why we're here. But it's the ultimate life lesson that you learn and how you've transferred that into life at the next level, but you still get that rush. And that is really cool. You guys have anything else to share or say?
Yeah, I want to read you one quick quote I read yesterday from a former Pittsburgh Steeler. I'd love to see Mahomes going against the great Steeler defense of the 70s. He would have got busted in the mouth. No way he runs around like that in a Super Bowl and beats the Steelers. Ask Roger Staubach and Fran Tarkenton how that went. Both were better runners than Mahomes. Can you name that former Pittsburgh Steeler?
Of the 70s.
Yeah. Nasty as could be.
Yeah. Bald head. What was his name?
You thinking Ernie Holmes?
You thinking Ernie Fats Holmes?
No. Is it Blount? Did they have
Blunt?
Blount?
He's thinking Mel Blunt.
Oh, he's thinking Blunt. Nope, Jack Lambert.
I was gonna say, but I thought for whatever reason, I thought Jack Lambert had passed on for some reason. But
no, he's a park ranger.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he's a park ranger in a small town outside of Pittsburgh called Katanning. He's nice if you see him, but he don't want nothing to do with the public. Never has.
Wow.
Never has.
Wow. Always park rangers are kind of loners,
Yep. Raised 2 daughters. Raised 2 daughters, been married to the same woman, I guess, for years.
Good for him.
Hey, Irv, we want to thank you for taking us through your journey, being a guest on the show. It was awesome to meet you. A lot of people chiming in, saying, hey, it's interesting hearing your story. And again, we thank you for your time.
No, thank you for the invite, and please don't hesitate to reach out to me, any of you guys, if you need anything public safety related, or if you need me to come talk to some knucklehead kids or anybody. I love telling my story and telling kids that you can live out your dream, but it's going to come with a sacrifice. You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
Wow.
So thanks a lot, guys. You guys be safe, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything.
Appreciate the time,
Appreciate
man.
Thanks,
you.
Lieutenant.
Thanks,
All right,
sir.
guys.
Have a
Take
good
care.
evening.
All right,
You
man.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, man, outstanding effort there from Irv. That was interesting stories.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he played in that 80s time period. That was, to me, it was really interesting in football. As a Steeler fan, that was a really shitty time. But, it was just, his stories at Maryland, some of the people he played under, Monty Kiffin, I mean,
Pete Carroll.
he just dropping heavy names.
It shows you how crazy it is. These guys are still around coaching.
I know, right?
Tony Dungy.
Dungy was, when he dropped Dungy.
I would have loved to hear him tell us stories as we're sitting around the table, no mics, not on air. The stories that he did, you know what I mean? The real shit, like what really went on behind closed doors.
Yeah, because I felt like he held back just a little bit.
Yeah. Which, respect. I give him that. But it was, but I'd love to hear his journey. I would have liked to ask, me, I always know. How many of those guys are you still friends with? Whether it's the Canadian League, whether some of the guys from the other NFL teams, how many of those guys are you still friends with? And compared to how many guys are you still friends with from your professional days compared to your college days? I'd like to ask that, but that's good stuff, man.
Hey,
So when he went to Maryland, it was right after Len Bias died. So that was a rough time at the University of Maryland.
Ooh,
like not long after Len Bias died, like he was there. So yeah, it was a different kind of atmosphere. They were cracking down on everything. I imagine it wasn't probably the most fun time to be at Maryland.
Man.
Yeah, I told you guys we had a kid that went to our high school that played ball with Bias.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I believe he lived in the quad with Bias.
Phil Nevin.
Where's he at nowadays?
Phil Nevin. Remember him?
Yeah. I don't know where that boy is now. Or that man, I should say. He was a 7-footer, Mike.
Dunk. Could he dunk? He was always up the courts. I never saw him dunk.
Never needed to. He just
was like
reached up and got ass.
He's like 7 foot.
Pinball machine. Hey, Super Bowl recap, fellas. First half highlights. What are we thinking here? Were there any?
No lights.
It's great defense.
It was. And the crazy part about it is that trick play, I don't know how they missed that offensive lineman 6 yards downfield.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they missed that. But I did like you said, Noob, defense.
Yeah,
The Pacheco fumble was huge. They were going in to score. That fumble was big time.
So was McCaffrey's.
McCaffrey's was, but it was a 3-and-out right after, so there was no issue. I mean, I don't know. That was a.
But they should.
They were going.
Yeah, I feel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the momentum. Like Kansas City was going in to score. They would have scored on that drive. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they were.
I know. I was hitting the chat up, and I was actually telling Sizzle too. I know Kansas City didn't look righteous in that first half, but I kept saying I feel like they're setting them up for the second half. Like they ran plays, and like any good offensive coordinator, he knows sometimes he's going to get stopped. The play's not going to work. The play's going to work maybe for 2 yards, whatever. But I felt like they set them up a lot because a lot of things they did in the first half, they went back to the second half, but did it a different way and executed.
Well, that's what Irv said. It's all about the adjustments, not just making them, but making them effectively. And Kansas City did.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Again, what did Brock Purdy have? Like 40 pass attempts, 30, like high 30, 40. Double the pass attempts as you had rushing attempts almost. The fact that they didn't, and again, I don't know who Shanahan is supposed to run it all. I get that. But again, why you get and he got his runs, but I honestly thought the running game was going to be more with San Fran. But then possibly the offensive coordinator thought Chris Jones is wrecking us. Not every play, but this man is stepping up.
Yeah.
And it was Chris Jones who his play stood out to me a lot more than others. And I say that because there was a couple times he's in Purdy's face. He doesn't get the sack, doesn't even hit him, but he made Purdy adjust where he could. They had to kick 3 in overtime because Jones is in his face. That's a touchdown, fellas. You know what I mean? There was a couple plays like that. So I give Chris Jones. I want to see how much he's asking for because I think he's a free agent. I don't know.
Yes, he is. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm interested in what they're going to give.
deal.
I'm interested to see what they're going to give him. That's what stood out for me, man. Just Chris Jones. Just being Chris Jones. I didn't expect that.
We've been
I
talking
really
about him pretty much all year. He's a top 3 D lineman. I think he's a top 3. And he really has stood out this year more than ever because that team wasn't doing shit until he came back to them on that D line.
True.
And he made Karlaftis or whatever the hell his Greek name is.
Karlaftis.
He really helped that kid raise his game. Like he was very visible in the Super Bowl too. Karlaftis.
Yeah, but it just, man, and the crazy part is why I also liked it. To me, I didn't see a whole lot of mistakes. Now we talked about I thought McCaffrey should have had the game more. When the punt hits old boy in the back of the leg, I don't know if Ray is screaming, get away. I don't know. How many people, he might not even hurt him regardless.
You can't, yeah.
But fellas, to me, nobody made a mistake. Well, on that touchdown play, the guy read it wrong and the wide out was open. But I loved it because right now, nobody is sitting at home crying because so-and-so missed this or whatever have you. And even the extra point that was blocked. Hell, they've been getting blocks. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. I think special teams played a huge part in this.
Oh, huge.
There were 10 punts. There were 7 field goals. Both kickers 7 for 7, not 7 for 7. One had 3, one had 4, and one was 55. And then they beat the old record. And then he got 57. And then there was a 53-yarder. Special teams, I think, was where it was at.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Conley for the Niners, I think. He downed that ball at the 1-yard line. The next series, he came back. He crushed the guy at the 14. Didn't even give him a chance to make a step forward. I think special teams really held it together, and that's why we saw such a defensive battled game because it was a matter of field position, really.
Yeah, and like you see right there where Gott's saying they didn't use CMC, and he was a focal point all year. And with that many weapons, it's hard for me to say anybody was a focal point, but I truly thought they were going to use CMC more.
Listen, he had 160 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, I know. It just seemed like
receiving, but yeah, that guy.
It just seemed like he could have gotten more. I don't know, man.
Guys, when Elijah Mitchell touched the ball, though, he was explosive and got yardage. Yeah. I would have put a game plan together that would have included Elijah Mitchell and Christian CMC on the field. He'd have ran some out of the slot for me, CMC. He's every bit the size of a slot back, no question about it. And he can catch the crap out of the ball. He would have ran some out of that slot on jets, even, rocket tosses. I'd have done some fake stuff with him, let Mitchell carry it downhill because Mitchell's a big, strong back coming downhill. I was surprised that Shanahan didn't go to anything like that at all to expose the running game.
McCaffrey averages 3.5, 4 yards.
Yeah.
I know, I understand what you're saying, mix it up, and it's like, damn, he's putting us in position to get a first down every 3 touches.
Yeah. But you know what, though? But because of, not saying they're interchangeable, but both backs had success last night. And whether it was Motert last year running for them, Shanahan always has weapons. You know what I mean? He always has weapons, and I don't know. I know the head coach takes the brunt when things don't go right. But again, I don't know if the O coordinator or who it was, but at no point did Shanahan step in and say, get CMC more. Let's do something with the running game. That's what shocked me from San Fran. Nobody played bad on either side. I couldn't blame a win or a loss on either side, but that is what stuck out to me the most, the lack of the running game. I
think from that perspective, Mikey, I think that in terms of Shanahan having weapons all the time, he goes out and gets a certain kind of guy that fits his system because he can do that at the NFL level. Whereas when Noobs is coaching high school football, he gets what he gets. And Sakari has to adjust things around what they get. Okay. From the perspective of the NFL, these guys can go out and get what they want. They, like now you hear Tomlin, he just loves Justin Fields. That you know he.
Well, you already know where I
That's
stand on
not their
that.
stuff. They didn't bring in an offensive coordinator to
We
have
gotta
a
come
running
back on that one.
quarterback. You know
You
what
know,
I mean? Like it just doesn't.
But here's my thing. That to me is where I look at the genius of Shanahan, and I say that because how many players do we see get drafted? And I don't understand this. And God, fellas, please help me with this. We see guys year after year after year get drafted, don't make it, and say he didn't fit our system. You put time and energy into him. You already knew he didn't fit your system, yet you still drafted him. What makes Shanahan the genius, or is it just being around his father? I don't know. To where, fellas, I understand he's losing the Super Bowl. I get that. But this cat is picking the right ingredients.
Yeah.
What makes him the genius to be able to do it? Like you said, you're right. You know your scheme, and he's getting guys to fit that. Meanwhile, other coaches know their scheme, GMs know the scheme, but they can't seem to duplicate it. I don't understand that.
It's called assistant coaches. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, one of the things he does I really, really like you're saying, Mike. Yeah, the way he uses Deebo Samuel, like he finds guys and utilizes their strengths so well. Like I think that's the perfect example, Deebo, because he moves them around, he motions them.
Man.
He'll give them the ball on a rocket. He'll throw it in the slot. He'll run them actually on routes. Like he utilizes his strengths, and I think he does that really, really well. He figures out what guys do the best, and then gets them in space and does that. And if you think about, I was going to say, if you think about Kansas City, they're kind of the same in that they do the same type of stuff. I think as far as putting guys in position to be successful.
Look what they did with Rashee Rice.
Yeah,
before they Rice in the backfield.
Before they had CMC, that was Deebo's role. He was everything. He touched a rock probably 75% of the time.
I wanted to touch on what Mike said here. He talked about Greenlaw. I think that was a devastating injury for them.
Absolutely.
Did you see what the stats were for his sub, Warren Burks?
No.
All right, this is bad. They threw at him 9 times. They threw, he's trying to cover a guy either in his zone or in man. 9 times. They had 9 completions.
Oh, the guy who replaced them?
Yes, for 134 yards and 1 touchdown.
Listen, I didn't know the guy.
Who was he covering?
Or 134 rating. I'm sorry, 134 passing rating. It was different plays who he covered, but he never stopped anyone that threw at him like they threw out anything they ran at him.
And that's a perfect.
9 is a lot.
That's a perfect adjustment because you notice in the second half they ran a ton more crossing routes, and maybe that's because they knew Greenlaw wasn't there or whatever. But they ran a ton more.
Oh yeah, Greenlaw and Fred Turner. They control. They were the anchors for that defense this year. I didn't realize this. Greenlaw had 120 tackles this year, so he was racking them up. He already had 3 in a quarter and a half that he was in there. What a freak accident, though. He was just
talking Fred Warner?
No, Greenlaw.
No,
Greenlaw.
The other guy you said Fred Turner.
Warner. Yeah, you're good.
Warner,
but you're right. Both of those dudes they're dynamite.
Yeah.
Craziness is, fellas, even if Greenlaw had been there, we don't know what would happen. But the play that sticks out to me is the 4th and 1 where Mahomes has the run pass option, whatever, and plays it perfectly because the DB had to go. He had to go with the getter. And as soon as he steps half yard to his left, Mahomes turns it up. And once he gets 7-8 yards for the first and slides, that to me, that play was crucial, fellas.
Along with the DB having to do that, they ran a zone blocking scheme to the left because he did the zone read with Pacheco. Everything has to move with Pacheco, otherwise he's going to give it. And he's going to cut it upfield. Yeah. It was only 1 yard, so that's that RPO right there. That's tough.
I thought I was worried when they lined up in shotgun, only because I was like, fellas, you only need a yard. Line up but again, that's my reason, coach, and I ain't.
That's been a touchy subject all year.
The last thing I want to talk about is the game-winning touchdown. That play right there is almost impossible to cover.
That's why I can't blame anybody.
I mean, like it's almost impossible to cover. In fact, that's the same play they used to win the Super Bowl last year. Exact same play. Go look it up.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yep.
Jeez.
Well, let's rewind a couple series. The Chiefs tied it up 16-16, and the Niners got the ball back with 250, around 250-ish left. They couldn't wind the clock down enough to win that game. They go ahead with the 1916 with the field goal, and they give the ball back to Kansas City with less than 2 minutes. I mean, that's dangerous. And then they couldn't stop them. And everyone's making this big deal about San Francisco in overtime wanting the ball. Shit, the defense couldn't stop them. They're dead ass tired. I would take the ball too. But the point being, they just want to see what do they have to do to overcome what that team got with the first possession. They're going to score. You know, the Chiefs are going to come down and score.
You know what, T?
Matter of a field goal or a touchdown.
Yeah, T. That's to me.
It doesn't matter.
People now going back and armchair quarterback. Why'd they take the ball? I had no problem with it.
I don't either.
I had no problem with it because to me, if you get 7, maybe Shanahan's thinking if we score, we get 7. Yeah, they could do whatever. But now the pressure could be on some of those receivers who led the league in drops.
Right.
If that pressure, we have to get 7. Now there's no more time left. We have to get 7. I don't have and the crazy part is only 2 coaches could have made the Super Bowl. Only 2.
Yeah.
Shanahan is one of him, and you guys are going to clown. You know, these cats are going to second guess what he's done. He's been there too many times.
He's a young guy, too. Keep in mind, he's a young guy. Think about Andy Reid when he was in Philadelphia. He was a young guy. He changes teams, and he changes the dynamic of that team. He knows exactly what he's looking for, and he gets the right players to run the right system with the right coaches. And
the same thing happened in Philly. He was always there, always in the NFC Championship. Was at the Super Bowl once or twice, right?
Shit, he did it with Donovan McNabb, who was okay.
But listen, I just heard this or saw it the other day. Andy Reid didn't win a Super. He was in the league for 21 years before he won a Super Bowl, and that's unheard of now because
you don't get that much time.
You get that contract, you win or lose, and we next just keep them coming. But I hope they give Shanahan that kind of patience, have that kind of patience. I mean, he's a proven winner. Just get him to that next level.
That's a good organization.
It is Super Bowl twice. He's been 3 times.
3 times. Yep, 3 times.
Quarterbacks, and he wins by 2 touchdowns.
Oh,
hey, let's move on to the sideshow, guys.
Flip quarterbacks.
Let's move on to the sideshow. Let's run through these pretty quickly. The Travis Kelce incident. Thoughts?
I'm with noobs. Fellas, and I'm not even going to go race on it but there are certain players that if AB had done that, if Terrell,
I was just going to say AB,
if they'd have done that, it would have been totally different. But I have seen people on Twitter, well, you guys don't know, you've never been to Super Bowl. There's those emotions. That's that level. Doesn't matter. Hey,
Kadarius Toney, what would happen if he was in the game and he did that?
Man,
there's already this rap sheet and this persona about him, right?
You can't do that, man. You can't do that. And Kelce, because you've been there, act like you've been there.
I'm going to go opposite all you guys, fellas. He had a relationship with. He has a good, strong relationship with Reid. Reid knows the passion in that guy. He's been with Reid since day one, right? He's been with Reid. And he knew he was confident if he got up to Reid and did that, it was like a father-son relationship. After that happened, the first thing he did was he cooled himself off. He went over and hugged Reid. And he said, you didn't see this on TV. He went over and hugged Reid and said, I'm sorry. You know how I am, coach. I want to get this thing. I want this for you. I want this for me. You know, like I get that passion. I understand that. I understand what you men are saying, but I also know that if I had a relationship with the coach that I've been with for a long time, like a father-son relationship.
Father-son, Vincent comes up and knocks you almost on your ass. You're not going to go.
Exactly.
Blow it over and push it on the road. I know you're going to kick his ass to the curb.
Here's the crazy part. Now, and at this day and age is ridiculous. Of course, we know this day and age is ridiculous. Did you see now they're coming out with stories? People are fearing for Taylor Swift's.
Yeah.
Because now this is how. Are you kidding me? Those are totally different. Those are totally different.
Yeah.
To me.
Right. I don't have time for that.
To me.
Hey, San Francisco players, they claimed that they had no idea of the overtime rules. Do you really believe that?
No.
I don't believe that shit.
Oh, fellas, to me, even if we do, it's irrelevant, and here's why. You're on the field to win. That's bottom line, to win. So when the offense is on there, you try to get 7. So you got 3. If those guys thought the game was over, not one 49er ran on the field like we won. You know what I mean? We've seen guys celebrating baseball on a second out thinking it's third. We've seen guys walk to the first base on third ball not thinking it's a fourth. But nobody ran the field thinking that they had won. Nobody. And just being, you know what I mean? To me, that is a cop-out. And we all complained years ago. I know I did. Complained when they changed it and made it almost a participation league when they said now everybody has to get a chance in overtime. So I find it hard to believe they didn't know. I find it hard to believe.
Ignorance is not bliss. And if you don't know, you got to ask. It comes up every overtime situation, regular season, playoffs, Super Bowl. Just ask.
They don't have to ask anybody. The referee tells them what the hell's going on. If you were listening, when he had the coin right there, he told him, this is what's going on. This is what happens. Don't tell me you don't know what's going on.
It's like the classroom.
And if your team didn't know, then that's the guy that's the guy's fault who went out there for the coin flip then. At that point.
Here's what worries me more. These are grown men that aren't even smart enough not to admit on national TV they didn't know the rules.
Yeah, don't.
Now, if you want to tell your boys in the locker room, man, I didn't even know. Know. Okay. But when you're in a press conference, this is worldwide, global. Oh, I didn't even know.
123 million people saw you act like a complete ass.
You look stupid.
Really?
That's ridiculous.
Noobs, what was your favorite commercial?
I'm going to go with the Dunkin' Donuts with J-Lo.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought that was funny.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one. I didn't pay too much attention. I did like was it virtual reality or whatever, where they had the Eagles and then Ravens and then the Seahawks flying through the air and doing all kind of funky stuff. That was pretty cool because Vincent was talking about it.
Yeah,
fellas. Honestly, the one I guess I sort of enjoyed the most are when everybody was trying to imitate Christopher Walken.
Oh, that was fun.
But I really didn't.
Yeah,
fellas, I really didn't have. Again, nobody was talking about the commercials Monday morning. We used to talk. We love the game, but you used to talk about them, and now there's 7 million for 30 seconds, and none just stood out to me, man. None really stood out to me that I was like, oh yeah. I didn't.
Normally, when those commercials came on, I was going into the kitchen to get another shot of moonshine that my buddy Joe Myers makes. It was kicking ass too, boy. It was like a candy apple, some shit. It kicked ass. A good thing I wasn't hungover Monday. My favorite was the Dorito one. I like those two.
The grandmas?
Yeah.
Abuelitas, yeah.
Hey, Usher.
Messi, the one with Messi was pretty good too.
Oh, that was real good. I like that one. Yeah. Hey, Usher, thoughts?
Yeah.
Honestly, fellas.
Roller skating. Shit. I thought I was at the Arena. I was ready to go over to the hoagie shop and get me some.
Oh, fellas,
look here. I didn't know what the roller skate was about.
No. You can say whatever you want. You come to Atlanta, they call it off Cascade. You can be the hardest core gangbanger, Crip blood, whatever, rolling stick. It does not matter. They keep their guns in the car, and these guys roller skate like you wouldn't believe. So, I mean, they're gangsters. Now, me, I'm sort of looking at myself like, I thought it was lackluster. Then everybody's talking about, oh, it was great. It was this, it was that. Maybe I missed, to me, it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It's been a minute since I saw a halftime show. I like Janet Jackson's halftime show. I was down with that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was the fact it wasn't pre-recorded and it was actually his vocals and all that. I thought that was really, really good with how he was dancing and all that. And, I mean, that's a lot to be doing all that and roller skating and singing and keeping all that in time.
Our next live show, everybody, will be doing that. We're going to.
Why was Jermaine Dupri dressed like Uncle Fester from? What was that about?
I don't know.
Those dudes, man, I don't know. But listen, my favorite halftime show was probably Prince. And I'll leave
Prince rocked it. Yeah.
God rest his soul. Yeah. How about your party menu, man? What was your favorite thing on the party menu?
Oh, those beef sliders.
Those were good. Yeah,
those are banging.
Noobs, what'd you have?
My wife made this cheese dip that was just so damn good. I don't know how she like a buffalo spicy cheese. Like, oh boy, that was hidden. That was chicken. It was good.
Damn.
Mine was the regular wings. However, you've heard, well, down here definitely we do a lot of lemon pepper wings. I'm sure they got them up there too. But I ordered orange pepper and lime pepper. So I hooked some of those up. So I hooked some of those up. So I like the orange pepper. If you ever get a chance, now I live down here, you got a lot of Spanish community, and it's Badia brand, but they have orange pepper and then they also have lime pepper and hooked it up with the wings. And yeah, man.
Is that a sauce or a rub?
It's a rub, but I'm glad you mentioned sauce. Kinder's has barbecue sauces. Not a fan of all the Kinder's seasonings, but if you see Kinder's barbecue sauces, roasted garlic, honey hot, fellas, I'm 330 pounds for a reason. If I tell you the vittles are good, the vittles are good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down right now.
I'm trusting you, Mikey.
Kinder's.
Man, I can't wait till you come up here. We do our live show. Who knows what the hell we'll eat that weekend?
I'm ready.
Who knows what we'll eat? My favorite, to be honest with you, I only had some of the dips, and T-Sizzle makes a freaking kick-ass pepperoni dip. It was banging.
Okay.
It was banging. He makes a pepperoni dip. It just the cheese, the tiny bits of pepperoni with the cream cheese. Yeah, I gotta give you your props on that.
I got you.
Do you hold on, Sizzle? When you make it, do you make the cream cheese and then you put regular cheese on top so it melts like a pizza cheese? Yeah, you know what? You remember, well, Terry and you, Joe Merlacki.
Yeah.
His from back home. His wife makes that, and it's fire.
Yeah, it bangs.
It's man.
It bangs. There's no doubt about it.
And the only other way I want cream cheese is in a cheesecake, Jack. That cream cheese. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, I just like plain cheesecake. Maybe
I'm getting hungry. Then eat dinner.
No, plain cheesecake all day.
Hey, Sizz, what do you got? What's the T-Sizzle Quizzle this week?
T-Sizzle Quizzle. And I know we don't like this stat because it's a team game, but Mahomes joined an elite club by winning his third Super Bowl. How many other QBs have won 3 Super Bowls? Do you guys know?
Terry Bradshaw,
of course.
What's his name? Tom Brady.
Joe
Montana.
Steve. No,
Steve
Young.
I don't think
only
so.
won one.
Is that it?
Nope.
There's one more, huh?
One more. I said
Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman.
No, not Theismann. That was the Redskins. But
Troy
Aikman.
Yep.
Yeah.
5 guys won 3 Super Bowls.
Well, we can't talk about it now, but on one of these shows, I want to talk about what is your personal idea of what a Hall of Famer is.
Oh, we could do that.
Because I want to know, because I'm seeing some of these guys getting in. Now, again, they played at a higher level than I ever played, but I don't consider them Hall of Fames. And I have heard some of the Hall of Famers before, Deion Sanders, some other guys saying the Hall of Fame is getting watered down. But I'd love to get into that. Like, what is your criteria of a Hall of Famer? We got to talk about that one day. We got to.
Yeah.
Hey, when we get to that, though, I want to do it for each sport. Basketball, football, baseball, and hockey. And if you don't know it, you don't know it. I get it. But, boy, there's some guys I think that should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And you've got these archaic guys that are 85 years old still voting on the Hall of Famers.
That's it.
It's just bullshit. It's just, yeah. So, hey, let's go ahead. Let me get the social media out there for you guys. Michael Chops Mills is at Real Big Chops on Twitter. You can find T-Sizzle on Instagram and Twitter at One Young Terry. Coach Noob is on Instagram and Twitter. Guess what? He's at Coach Noob. And Rasheen the Dream Hill. You can find him anywhere, right? Ain't that what he tells us? You can find me anywhere. He's at Rasheen Hill on Facebook and Mira May Tam Sheen on Instagram. So hey, connect with us here on the Original Sports Podcast. Make sure you check out our website, podpage.com /Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei. I've just completely redone the page. Our bios are on there. Every episode. Even our YouTube stuff. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Snapchat. All those are OSP with M&M. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and again, you can find us on YouTube. All of those are Original Sports Podcast. If you got anything you want to tell us, feel free to reach out. Our email is originalsportspodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to Sean Ankoviak for doing our voice intro and outro for season 4. For Charlie Hodgson's season 4 music intro and outro. You better join us next week at 7:05 on Tuesday. We'll be rocking something new, you guys. Look for it everywhere. You'll be experiencing the O like we do every week. Have a good week, everybody.
Peace.